Mathematics. If I had to choose any definition for math, most people will probably say something normal, like it goes along with science, or it's just another subject in school. But if I had to choose any overall description, I would say math is a language. It may sound very weird, but math is just like science. Science is a language, history is a language, Spanish is a language, all in different ways that beholds each language. Although math and Spanish are both languages, math and Spanish are totally different. But in math class, you have to be able to speak math. Like, you have to know the language to be able to speak algebra. It's like taking a different Spanish 1, 2, and 3, geometry, algebra 1, algebra 2, pre-calc. It's like learning its own language within itself. That's what, for sure, I'd definitely say is the definition of math, and it's learning that language by working hard and practicing that will allow students to excel. Second, would you consider yourself good at math? Yes. And no. I'd consider myself naturally very talented at math. It's definitely one of my top subjects, and with almost no try, I could whiz all the way through Algebra 2. But when stuff got difficult, I just really didn't want to work. So that's my big plan for this year, is fixing my work ethic, and then I can really consider myself good at math, so that when it becomes difficult, I don't just go, oh, I could try here or try there. I'd actually work through it, put some good time into it, get to the solutions and the answers by trying my best, rather than just doing what I know off the top of my head. What do you think it means to learn math? For this, I'm once again going to go back to the language. So learning math is like accepting that it's language, and that eventually, after enough time and mistakes, you will learn. For all things snowboarding, skiing, swimming, sports, whatever, you learn from your mistakes. Running, for example, you sprint out really hard your first race and die super bad your last mile and finish 2 minutes slower than expected. Okay, you learn from that race. I had to go out slower in the start and finish stronger at the end. So next time maybe you go to a little slower, once again you're still slow, and then you're like, okay, I went out a little too slow, so I'm going to go a little faster and try and keep with it. That's the same with math. For example, the quadratic formula. Oh, you just learned this. The first time you're not expected to be able to get it right perfectly. You take a few times, oh, a failure, that's good, another failure. Okay, that's getting better. It's like half failure, you got the first half right. Okay, now you're getting far into it, you're getting to the very end. Oh, now you completed it. Bam. You have your totally solved problem, and now, from now on, later in the year, once it comes back, I learn from my failures, and I know the quadratic formula, and that applies to all mathematics. How do you feel about taking pre-calculus honors this year? Why? Pre-calculus, I think, will be fun. I've always just been a pretty big fan of math. Hopefully it's a little more difficult and challenging. Like, once again, say algebra was always pretty easy for me, mostly because in middle school I took algebra 1 twice, and so algebra 2 became super easy, and that's why, like, last year it was really good. I was able to just think through stuff more than other people after having a 2-year base of algebra 1, because algebra basically makes up, algebra is like the vocabulary to Spanish 1, or the verbs. It's like the glue that holds it all together. So hopefully I can use the skills I've gathered over time and take all the new skills that I need to gain that are set ahead of me, and be able to have a really good year of pre-calc, solving problems with my group, and just working through all the tough issues that come up through the year. Do you like working as part of a team in math class and other classes? Why or why not? Honestly, before high school, I just liked working alone. I found it easier, especially because in middle school, most of the time, if you had a group, there's at least one slacker, and they're sitting there oh, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this. You end up doing more work. You're in middle school, you're like, oh, I kind of like them. I'm not going to tell the teacher they did no work, blah, blah, blah. So for sure, coming in to high school, freshman year was kind of like that, just worked alone, was like a lone wolf. And then 10th grade when CPM was incorporated, it was a huge difference. And working on the groups totally depends with like your group mates. Those are the biggest part of working with a group. At the moment, I really enjoy my group teammates. We work together really well. We have good synergy. When one person doesn't know it, the other persons are thinking it out. There's no like, oh my gosh, you missed that, you're so stupid. That's what really destroys a group or team. And that's with all things, sports, clubs, everything once again. In other classes, personally, working in a group, once again, I still like working with alone, just because, like English class, I work a lot harder than most people in my class, by far. Like last year and this year, it seems like for my class, I put in a lot more effort than everybody else. Everybody else coming in, reading this last second, doing this last second. Science, I think a lab partner would be very helpful. But math, I think working in a group's the easiest, because like English, you can just go find stuff online, or you can do that for math too, but like really just find more direct answers. Like math, if you don't understand, it can be a lot easier when your group members trying to explain it to you, and they understand you don't understand, because before there's times where you understand and they don't understand, and you've had to explain it to them. Have you ever struggled in math? Describe this experience. If you have struggled, what have you done when this happened? I'd say by far my biggest struggle was 7th grade. So coming into middle school, I'm 2 years above, so I was in pre-algebra, then that was a breeze, all like 98%, high A's. So we went to 7th grade in Algebra 1. No one else in 7th grade in regulars, even pre-algebra yet, so you're 2 years ahead, you're like, oh, this is great, I'm going to be so far, I'm way better than everybody else. But Algebra 1, really, the first quarter took a huge hit on me. It was a lot more work than I ever had to do. It was a lot harder, a lot more thinking, and I just at first was too stubborn to realize that. The first quarter I got a C, and I was like, wow, that was really... I was just disappointed because I felt like my work could have been a lot better, even though I will say I worked hard. But then from that I realized, I'm like, okay, this is what it's going to take, and this is what I'm going to have to do. So then the rest of the quarters, I think I went from like 78, then to like 83, so I'm like, okay, I'm moving up, I'm learning more, I'm working harder. Now I'm up into the B's. The next quarter after that, it's up to like 80, I'm like, okay, now I'm really close to an A. My core of algebra is really coming on strong. The work ethic's getting a lot better. I'm working more time at nights and trying harder on problems. Fourth quarter, I ended up with, I think, a 96. I know it was probably the easiest quarter, but still, like over time, my work had just been like slowly going up, kind of like a graph, and I felt like that was just the biggest helper for me that year, with a few plateaus here and there. I felt like it was almost started here, and so that like the first, let's say, the first quarter is kind of coming in. That's kind of like too stubborn. Okay, I got to change. Going into the second quarter, got a lot better. I was on a little plateau for a little bit, then went up again. And that's basically how my challenges went. So then at the end of the year, could have moved on to geometry. I got a C, 2 B's, and an A. That averages out to a B. That's fine. Geometry, they say it's easy, you don't even need that. But then you think about, okay, high school, algebra 2, pre-calc, calculus, physics, all these things that are really going to require a huge base in algebra. So rather than going to geometry in 8th grade, I actually retook algebra 1, and that was a huge helper. I think I had almost 100% the year through, and I just it just clicked. I understood everything from there on. and I felt like taking that over really has helped me through high school, and that's why math has just like fallen easier to me. But that was by far my biggest struggle, and retaking that class was by far the way to fix it. So those are by far my 6 topics and how I feel about them for mathematics for this project. I really enjoy math, it's my favorite subject. I hope this year will be really good in pre-calc, and when struggles come up, my group and I will be there to just push through them and get to solutions. Thank you.